Right, so I thought I'd come back to the 3D printer project. I apologise for the noise of the drill in the background. I'm drilling a prototype PCB, and while that's happening, I've got an excuse to be able to come and go through some of the background bits, because one of the things I wanted to do was get into the idea of what is the Marlin all about, and how does it work, etc., rather than just have this whole big machine built and then suddenly find that I don't really know how to run the Marlin. So I started looking into it in the background, and I won't pretend it's been easy. I've blown one up. I've literally struggled like nobody's business with the actual Marlin software to discover it's very easy. You just don't need to overthink it. And so what I'll do to start with, we've got the ramps board there with the RepRap Discount full graphics smart controller, which is the big display connected via the leads, and basically you've got the leads have to go in the right correctly across, so that you don't have any issues with that. It is marked on the board, it is marked on there, U1, EXP1 and EXP2, and that board plugs in there. So plus you'll notice what I've also done is, so my SD port doesn't get worn out, I've actually put a little SD card extender on, and then I'm constantly putting the SD card in and out of the slot at the end, so that if that gets worn, then we just replace the whole SD. We're not the SD controller. We're not having to replace the actual board. We're reducing the wear on that device there. So before I did anything, let's get that so we can see that screen. That's better. I like to do the basics, which is let's plug it in to start with, and the screen lights up. It does nothing. I was a bit disappointed that it came with no software on it, but it doesn't. But it does mean that we can see the basic thing runs, and I did download the Blink software to the Mega just to make sure that the Mega was running, so that every stage we're working at, we know we've got a working piece of kit, and we're not expecting everything to happen or connect the whole thing together and hope when it doesn't work not know where to start. I'll go over to the software, and what I've done is I've downloaded the Marlin. I'm on Arduino 1819, so it's fairly current, based on today. And in the tools, I've also gone down into the manage libraries, and when that screen comes up, where's it going to come up? There we go. If you actually put in, it's doing an update as they always do when you want them to be quick. If you put in U8 and search on the U8, what I've already done, he says looking a bit further down, is I've put the U8 G2 libraries in. Then that's necessary for the display that we're using. You'll find I just installed them all, because a U8G lib, I didn't know which one it was, U8G HAL, I just thought I installed a lot. Libraries extra libraries on your drive don't cause any more problems to running. So we'll close that down. Now then, the Marlin firmware comes effectively with a front end, and 90% of what you're dealing with is in the configuration board. Now then, there's a lot of stuff in here, and it really does go into great depth, and at some stage I'll understand it all, but I'll tell you where I am at the moment. I've got to the point where I can make this fire, and so if we start sliding down, there's lots of things, define configuration, and as I said, don't overthink it, don't try to do too much. The one thing I did do is I went past all of this, ignore the serial ports, you don't need any of that, and I have altered that baud rate up to 500,000, because it does seem to work right well. And then leave the motherboard as the ramps 1.4, although this is a 1.5 board. Like I said, don't overthink it. Now there's miles and miles to do with nozzles, extruders, and at some stage all this will become important, but at the moment we're just trying to literally prove, does the board work and can we get the screen running? And there's lovely things to do, and it's all very encouraging that all this is in there, that you can deal with different thermocouples, different sensors, are they high going, low going, sea going, you know, at the end of the day it's all there. Very interesting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide us down to about 2/3 of the way down to where it starts talking about LCDs. There we go, section LCD. Now you can search for section LCD. I'm going to leave the language untouched, and I'm going to leave things I don't understand untouched. I am going to, at that point, go in and actually uncomment SD support, because SD support is necessary, because if we actually look at the board, it has an SD in there, and it's a special SD. It just uses the same that every other SD that connects to the Marlin would use. They've just built it into that board nicely for you, because they've got the SPI bus going up there, so they've had the decency for the sake of adding one chip and the SD card to add it in, and it gives you a bit more value for money. So uncomment the define SD support. Then we're starting to look now. Now if we actually go and have a look at the device itself, it actually says on there, I'm trying to make sure they can see that screen, that it's a RepRap Discount Full Graphics Smart Controller. So I made the mistake initially of just doing a search under RepRap Discount, and basically uncommented that one there, which it's the RepRap Discount Smart Controller. But it's not, and it didn't run, and that was one of the things that took a bit of confidence away from me, because I thought, oh well, why am I not understanding it? Because there is more than one RepRap Discount controller. If we go a bit further down here, he says, looking for it, trying to make sure that while I'm talking I don't go past it. There is the RepRap Full Graphics Smart Controller, and that's the one you need to uncomment. Now then, those two, just uncommenting those two lines is all you need to do to prove all of this works. And if we go over to that, I can now do an upload. Just as I say, it's powering the whole thing off the USB, and I'm going to literally go in, and I'm going to always do your check your COM port, make sure the COM port's set to it, and make sure we're set to an Arduino Mega to 2560, and then we'll say compile or load the sketch. Now I'm going to tell you now, it takes about 10 minutes. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing a lot, and it seems to even this is not the fastest processor, but even on an i9 it seems to take a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a nice wipe, and that will come back hopefully as it's loading. Done uploading, and there we can see we've got the Marlin logo. But one of the things I noticed, which I don't know if you can actually see that well, but the actual screen is glitching. It's quite badly glitching. It is, every second it's all over the place, and I went on all sorts of different sort of things saying the screen's glitching, it's awful, what's it doing? I wonder if I could take this cover off and it'd help. I'll take that off and see if that helps the image. Does it? A little bit, yeah, so you can see it's all over the place, is that screen. And the answer is simple. It just needs 12 volts. And all of a sudden it tidies up totally. So it's now doing exactly what it should be doing. The screen is not glitching. I'm trying to, it's literally doing everything that you'd expect it to. So the next thing that I wanted to do was, having done that, let's have a look around the menus. And what I will do is I'll get you a much closer view of that, and then we can take it from there. So one of the things that's worth noting, if you do manage to get it working, if you press the rotating encoder, it will take you into different parts of the menu. And one of the things you can do is you can go into motion control, You can move all the axes about, which means you can do some tests. It's worth pointing out, if you press the button, you press T and it will do a reset, take you back through. It's worth pointing out that if you are having issues, that one of the things you can do is, when you've got the software loaded, you go over to the software, you can go into that little serial monitor there. I'll have to bring that across and drop that in the side there. If you set the baud rate correctly, which is 500 for 500, press the reset again, reset, and you can actually see a lot of the basic settings. So if I come out of that and go back into it again, I have to bring it across, you can actually see a lot of the actual settings. So you know what's working and not working. We can see right at the bottom it's saying the SD card is okay. So although you might not have got your screen running instantly, you can do a lot of things inside there that allow you to do a lot of testing. But like I say, if you come back to the screen, that will allow you to see that the software is working. You can look at the temperatures. And again, I'm going to use this a bit later on to actually test the temperatures long before we put it into effectively do a preheat. And I'm noticing that I'm going to turn this anti-clockwise, which feels counterintuitive. And I did notice that somewhere there is a setting that allows you to invert that encoder. But for now, it just sort of proves that we've got it loaded. It proves we've got the display working. Like I say, if you press the reset, it takes us back through to the main thing, the main screen, which it's doing its best, but of course it's telling us that the printer's ready. It shows it doesn't really know what it's doing. So what we've got there is the basic layout. I'm going to just adjust the camera and take a slightly wider shot to show one of the other things that we can do with once we've got the system talking. Right, so what I've got there is a little feed motor with what they call it on it, a stepper motor and a feed drive. I've used a bit of chocky block and a connector, got this thing connected so that it will plug into the pins on the drive. I got lucky, I got it right way around first time. Not that many configurations, and I've got to say I'll come back to get the configurations right if I can get those two on there. So that is the x-axis thing. Just double check it so I have to go through the camera. Yeah, that's the x-axis. So if I now, as I say, using the menu system, go in and say I want to go into motion, press down, say move axis, press down, move the x-axis, press down, and I want to move it in 10mm steps. If I now turn that, this time nothing's happening. Oh, that's annoying. That was working. Interesting. Got that one wrong way around. I think it's red, black, red, black. So we'll try again. Nothing. That's just part of when you try to do a demonstration, it doesn't always work. And as it was said, if it's going to go wrong, it always goes wrong in a demo. And so it did. Right, so let's try again. So basically what I was trying to show you was if you press that, it gives us the menu, motion, move axis, but this time I'll select the x-axis instead of the y-axis. So then, when I actually set to move it in 10 mils, there's a good chance, as you can see, that the actual stepper motor will move forwards. So, rather together nicely, and you can go through and check each of your axes. I've got to say, at this stage I find that the one thing that it is supposed to plug into, which is the actual feed, isn't moving. So there's obviously a setting in there that I need to put in. If I come back out of that, and actually go to move axis, can't look at it sideways. So move axis, yeah. Oh, I should say extruder, which I've got to say I've tried all the other one for you with them. But it says hot head is too cold, which is interesting. But I say I want to proceed anyway. I'll just try and move it 1 millimetre. Perhaps 10 millimetres is too much. Let's try and move it 1 millimetre. And as I say, it's not moving. Well, I know that there's little chance there's a problem there, because I literally, I'll keep the microphone for this, I'll just not pick the microphone up, so I might have been a bit quiet. I know that that's because I swapped those two over, and I know that was running X, and like I said, I've got all the others running. So, like I say, it's interesting that you can test everything, or you can test a lot of things. I've got to work out yet how to test the temperature probes. But with very little alteration, you can get the system up and running and start giving yourself some confidence that the whole thing's going. So, really, that's where we're at this stage. And at least we know that we've got the basic thing running. The Marlin software will work with the system. It's all down to getting the settings right now.